What do Ria and Priest need to do? A guy and a girl against a gang of 4 guys. Well, with Liv, so that equals.
Well, no, four people and a woman is what you're saying.
What would I say? Well, 4 people and a woman, and also it was 4 people and Paul Heyman once, I believe.
Yeah. At one time it was, but we know what you're trying to say.
What I'm trying to say is something very poor. No, what I'm trying to say is, do they get a new recruit? Do they just team up with another existing babyface? What do you do right now with this? Is this a chance to bring someone in and elevate them? What do you see?
For this particular match coming up, I'm thinking the baby faces should go over, but that doesn't mean that's the end of the program. They can get heat after, or they can do something or whatever. But I think, it's going to be somewhat of this is Rhea's big return. I'm not worried about Priest as much, but this is Rhea's big return. From her injury, correct? The first big show she's been on. Am I missing something? Have I had a brain tumor?
Well, Rhea's she wrestled at SummerSlam. She lost to Liv Morgan.
Oh, God, that's right.
Dominic revealed himself as being a swine.
Yes, okay, then I do have a brain tumor. Thank you for bringing that. But, well, then in that case, yes, Rhea needs to win something here pretty soon. So I think they could probably, and...
Speaking of brain tumors, I don't know if you remember earlier, we were talking about you signing over some stuff to an LLC I've created in Wyoming.
Yes, but I've decided instead to go down to Calabasas County. And I've received some good legal advice that there's a sucker that can be plumbed over there. But anyway, so the point is, Rhea's coming back from all of this, of the injury, the loss. I would think that the mixed tag team match, you might want to make the people happy in the finish, but then it's somehow either then or the Raw the night after, whatever the case, continue with some heat on the heels. To your question about all of the guys, I don't think they need another. They got the bloodline A and B, or blood type O and type O negative, whatever the fuck it is. Do they need to have gang wars? Isn't that an AEW thing? Rhea and Damian are friends, and you can have a mixed tag, but that doesn't mean that Damian is going to suddenly, start being a mixed tag team wrestler only. Rhea wants the singles title. These people are intertwined for now, but I don't think they need to go packing Priest and Ripley's side with a bunch of people, rather than in some way or another. I would think Finn and JD would be the tag team that they'd be looking toward for the future. But at the same time, Priest and Finn have to finish their conflict somewhere. Maybe they just say 2 of them didn't make their fucking plane because they're not booked or whatever. And hopefully we don't have, like you said, 4 guys running in on a guy and a girl, even if it's Rhea. Although I would bet on Rhea at least against 2 of the fucking... Yeah, there you go.
All right, well, there you go. And that was Raw. And I believe this is still in some way my show. I apologize for any noise. It's coming from somewhere.
Oh, God.
We don't know where. I'm not blaming. I'm not pointing any fingers or placing any blame. Except that it's in the air somewhere.
I am currently...
That's what it is. It's a current. I hear some sort of current.
I'm currently in an empty room. Hold on, I'm taking my headphones off.
They put you back in the room?
I'm in an empty room. There's not even a fan going. And my air conditioning is on, but it's going to stay on because it's in the 80s outside today.
Yeah, see, it's something over here, and it's either something in the air or my tinnitus. I just checked.
Do you have a tinnitus checker?
No, I checked I took my headphones off. That was my big check. I took the headphones off. I was like, oh, I hear it still. So
if you take a standard food thermometer and stick it in the ear with tinnitus, then if you get a temperature of between 94 and 96, then that means you need to go see a doctor.
The last time you told me to do that, the doctor told me I did everything wrong.
Well, that's because you were using one of those rectal thermometers. I'm talking about a food thermometer. Anyway, where would you like to go from here with your show, pal?
Yeah, I don't know. We've gone. This was the surreal moment of the show. I don't know what we're doing. We're killing time because there's dynamite, and it was.
I want to talk about it. But we could talk about some of our other friends first.
Would you like to talk about some of our other friends?
It's up to you. We've got some great friends.
Tell me about your friends.
Well, what about our friends over at DraftKings?
That's right.
You know, because we haven't mentioned that they're back. They're friends with us again.
If you asked me to wager on what friend you were talking about, that wasn't the one I was thinking of. But thank you for taking us there to talk about our good friends at DraftKings.
Well, it happened to be up on my screen at the time because this email screens keep getting larger and larger. But apparently, college football is coming back. Were you aware of this, Brian?
Of course I'm aware of it. Everyone's aware of it.
Well, apparently a lot of the colleges had fun doing it last year, so they've got together amongst themselves and said they're going to do it again this year. And now apparently it's starting again. It's week 1, and there's a big matchup in Atlanta, I'm told, here between the preseason number 1 and number 16. Now, does that seem fair to you, Brian? That number 1 would fight number 16. Wouldn't number 1 fight number 2 or 3 or 4? Let 16 fight 14 or 15 and make it more even. It's a bunch of big fucking bullies. Who are these number 1 motherfuckers going around picking on these little guys?
Well, the season's just starting, so number 16 could become number 1 if they kick the shit out of number 1 and a couple of other teams, too.
Well, if they could kick the shit out of number 1, they wouldn't be number 16, would they?
They haven't had a chance yet. We have to get the season going. That's what we're talking about, the start of the season, the college football season.
How are they just arbitrarily assigning people these numbers if they haven't even fought yet?
Well, it's based on projections, based on thoughts, based on all sorts of diagrams and statistics. Of course, analytics. Well, you can't forget about all these things.
Have any of the people on these teams actually had a fight and see who's tougher?
I mean, they fight sometimes. The members of the actual team fight, not like the two different teams fight each other.
Well, I think before the season starts, they ought to send a bunch of these teams out and let this guy or this team fight this team and the other team fight the other team. And whoever kicks the shit out of who, they ought to be number 1. And then they shouldn't have number 1 fighting number 16 because that's not fair. They would smear the earth with them. You know what? Go to DraftKings right now, folks. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and bet on number 1 to kick the shit out of number 16. And it sounds like theoretically most of the time you'd be right. I guess somebody could get a hit in the balls and fucking drop over and start puking. But it's apparently going to be the biggest college football season to date, at least as far as DraftKings is concerned. And they've got expanded playoffs. Is that where they have more chance to give each other brain contusions?
Well, again, you're going down a road that, if you're a fan of football, you may not want to think about the things that will be happening to the brains of the stars that you love.
If you're expanding these playoffs, they're going to have more games where they're going to run headfirst into each other like a bunch of fucking those news, aren't they? The GNUS aren't they the news that have the horns and ram into each other? Possibly, I'm thinking of Newfoundlands, but anyway. They're going to have a heck of a time running at each other head first this season in colleges all over the world. They're going to teach them during the day, and then they're going to kill their brain cells at night until they come out even, folks. And if you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use the code JCE, holy macro, do you know, Brian, how much money they're going to give people this time? I don't know how they stay in business. If you're a new DraftKings customer, if you bet $5 on whatever the case, probably on number 1, then you'll get $250 in bonus bets instantly. So then you could sprinkle half of that into number 1 and half of that into number 16 just for shits and giggles. And, well, theoretically, you got to win something, don't you? Do they have draws in college football?
I guess.
Would that be a loophole? Do they have disqualifications, count-outs?
Well, I mean, it could be a weather-related stoppage.
Well, that's an act of God, then. Wouldn't you get your money back?
Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
How much money are we talking?
Well, you're $5. And then the $250 that you get, that you bet 125 on one team, 125 on the other team, you're pretty much guaranteed a victory unless there's a draw or a count out or a double count out or whatever. So how would you
lose? What was the question? How would you lose?
Well,
unless there's a weather-related issue?
Well, that's God. Then DraftKings would ask God for their money back, wouldn't they?
Oh, God's good at collecting. He's not really good at handing it out.
He can't handle money. That's the thing. But nevertheless, folks, DraftKings Sportsbook app can handle your money right now. If you use the code JCE and you're a new customer, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 right there, only on DraftKings. The crown, Brian, the crown is yours when you are a draft king. Apparently that would mean you're the king of a draft. And these are the Draft Kings. Now, the question is, what was that fella's name that did this for us the last time the Draft Kings was with us?
That's a very good question, and the answer to your question is I don't know if that is the same read as the one we have here.
Oh, believe me, I believe it is, but
it is?
I'll go ahead anyway. Do you want to hear it?
You are a good man, yes. I think
you like to hear it. Here it goes. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, parenthetically 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. That's the whole sentence, folks. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance and not a second more. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
That's impressive, man.
Well, it's your show.